I'm going to be stretching to get something offensive. Everything for me is on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So let's start up front at defensive end. Um, Obviously, we got, in my opinion, the best defensive end in football, playing on the left side, Nick. But what's gonna happen on the right side is a huge question mark. There's really nobody there with any sort of um, sustained NFL success. There's a lot of talent over there. I mean, Drake Jackson showed some stuff in a short while he was playing last season, and the whole running out of gas thing is kind of troubling. But we expect him to be better prepared this year, and he clearly has talent. Cleveland Farrell, a disappointment in Oakland, but I mean, he was a 4th overall pick for a reason, so it's not like he's without talent. All those guys over there, you can make a case for. It's just that none of them does. Austin Bryant is a good measurables guy, but he's never put it together in the NFL. Beal is a nice prospect. I don't know exactly how much you can expect from a rookie, but so they're going to have a whole lot of guys to throw at it, and they should have a lot of opportunities with the fact that you're gonna have 2 guys on the front, with Hargraves and Bosa, who are going to command double teams. So those guys over there on the right side are going to have opportunities to make plays. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of them or a few of them separate themselves during camp to be the ones to get the first opportunity at that spot in the regular season. And I think it'll also end up being a very fluid situation that, I don't necessarily think that the person or persons who get that spot in the beginning are necessarily, tenured in there. And, I think it could, you could see a lot of movement on the depth chart as the season goes on. So I think that's going to be a fascinating battle to watch.
Yeah, and Shanahan has not been shy in, maybe publicly challenging Drake Jackson to kind of step it up. And he hit the rookie wall, and you've heard about the rookie wall. Some rookies are able to play through some of that stuff, but the difference between college football and the NFL is immense.
10 games, and he played. Well, we had an eligible, I think it was 21 games last year. So double the season for, and like you say, he just hit the wall. I mean, and I don't, not to make excuses. It's not an excuse. I mean, it's just a fact. I don't think somebody telling you can fully prepare you or explain what it's going to be like. So he had to experience it, and he did. And hopefully he took lessons from that and is able to, hell, at least finish the season this year. Because he had like 6 DMPs at the end of the season, coach's decisions. I mean, that's crazy for somebody that they were clearly counting on.
Did you read David Lombardi's piece? This is probably last week about Christian McCaffrey and Hargrave kind of being utilized in a way in that they have such great individual talent, but because of their individual talent, and he actually used the analogy for McCaffrey as like the Steph Curry of the offense, in that he attracts so much attention, it opens up stuff for other people. And he said similarly on the defensive side, Hargrave is kind of the same in that I forget the end for Philly who had his best year ever,
Reddick,
right next to Hargrave. And so he was saying that, can you imagine Hargrave and Bosa together? And I was thinking sort of like what you thought, which is, oh, well, maybe that's the avenue in where Drake Jackson kind of is able to show some stuff because the other two guys are going to be getting so much attention. So I think there's going to be tons of opportunities for him to make plays.
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I think Armstead is going to be a beneficiary because he's not going to be able to be the double in the middle, I would imagine. I just can't imagine Hargrave getting single block. He's just too good. But Armstead is no slouch. So I expect him to be a beneficiary. And then again, those guys on that other side, they won't be lacking opportunities. So I think, Kyle being how he is, he's not. That's why I say I don't know that whoever gets the opportunity first better produce, because they should have no reason not to. And I don't think there's going to be like a long leash of, allowing them to be that person that's over there starting to be to have a bunch of empty reps and not be productive. I just think the opportunities are too good. And there's too many guys there to just, next man up. We're just gonna keep rolling them through until somebody establishes themselves.
Where are you going next? Are you going linebacker for your next one?
We could do that. Well, yeah, let's do that. Well, no, actually, no. The one that's interesting to me is who ends up being the nickel and how they end up playing the nickel. Do they? Because I saw an article where Wilkes was big upping Oliver, and he has played well when he's played. His problem is that number one, he's been hurt like 3 of his 5 seasons. And those times when he wasn't hurt, the more he got above 300 snaps, the less effective he was. So the more he played, the less effective he was. His sweet spot as to this point in his career, if he at around 300 snaps, he's like a real top of the league player. But in those 2 seasons where he ended up playing 500 plus, it bore out that he was just kind of average. So we'll end up seeing. So Wilkes touted him as the best nickel on the market. And that might be true, I guess. But there was also talk about our draft pick Brown being a third safety and being out there with, him being, a big nickel, kind of like a la Jimmy Ward last season. So I guess both those things could be true. Oliver could get a lot of run. Brown could get a lot of run. But they're 2 completely different type of players. So who gets the snaps is gonna be pretty telling as to what we're prioritizing. And it might end up just being game plan dependent. Because obviously Oliver is going to be a much better cover corner, and while Brown can cover, he is more of a safety slash nickel. So he can give you some stuff, and he can also cover too, which he showed in college. But he can also play downhill and can, kind of play and be play and force in the run game, kind of like Jimmy Ward, who could cover, but his real forte was running, coming up and hitting people. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of just how we are going to play as a defense. Because I thought, everything's old is new again. That 3 safety deal goes back to Fritz Shermer with the Packers. He was the first one I ever saw, and I don't know if it's older than that. It probably is. There's nothing new on his son. But that big nickel package that they used with Woodson in there, him giving them that versatility of being able to be a corner, but later in his career he was more of a safety, in-box safety. That's an interesting dynamic. So it's going to be. I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
And, they're bringing back guys who have been in the system for a little bit. Ambry Thomas, our guy, Samuel, if you think you're lonely now, Womack. Um, and then, also guys who have been practice squatters and such, like Quantrez Knight. So, but Oliver was specifically brought over for this role.
Right.
It seemed. So it's kind of, he's kind of the 1A in that spot. But if the young rookie shows out, that is a very interesting battle.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't know if, it was such a long time ago now, but there was a streak there where Womack was like playing out of his mind.
Nose for the football.
Yeah. And then he, kind of like a rookie, he just kind of fell off. But it's going to be interesting to see. You mentioned Ambry Thomas. Is he in a Trey Sermon type situation? Does he is he like playing for his job at this point? Because he was the Amador Lenore not last season, but the season before.
Yeah.
He struggled early and then came on late and was, he was balling out at the end of the season, and then got hurt last year and just never never established himself. But I think overall, you mentioned Knight and Womack, and we've got a lot of talented guys, got a lot of guys who have shown in flashes that can play. I'm really fascinated with Knight's skill set. He's super fast and he's long and he's got all the measurables. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to take that next step from the practice squad onto the active roster, to be able to, maybe contribute. And it's kind of nice to have, no disrespect to my man Dante Johnson, but it's not it's nice to have younger guys be in the mix for these positions and not having to kind of go back to the well with, and again, there's nothing, no disrespect to Dante Johnson. When he plays, he's played well. And I mean, his versatility was, of real service, but the faster you can get these younger guys in on these rookie deals,
yep,
and exploit them, at this cheap money and get reps out of them, the better. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
All right, what is your third one?
Guy, it has to be linebacker. That third,
it's not going to be kicker Zane Gonzales. He's just kind of hanging out just to hang out.
Oh man, I have been. It's funny you should mention that. I've been debating back and forth all week. I mean, God, I can. That is one circumstance. The kicker situation is one that I can argue both sides of. I get the 49ers side of it. I get Robbie Gould's side of it, and I don't got a dog in the fight because I love them both. But I mean, and I am rooting hard for Jake Moody to be the guy, but it is ridiculous to make the point that some 49er fans have that he is a better kicker than Robbie Gould. Is he even, which brought up another subset of points. Is he even an NFL player yet? Technically, I mean, it's possible to get and not play. I mean,
I guess has he got to check it? That would actually.
Well, I get. Well, fair point. If he's been paid, then yes. Okay, fair point. But I would still say today, Robbie Gould was a better NFL kicker.
Oh yeah,
than Jake Moody.
100%. I think the whole season is going to be about, can Jake be 90% of Robbie Gould, right? Because Robbie Gould's one of the most consistent guys, one of the best kickers in 49er history.
Except now that's the thing. If you're making the case for Jake Moody, he is going to be an upgrade in the kickoff game from day one.
Yeah.
So I could, like I say, when you talk about making the argument from the 49ers side, I could see why you wouldn't want to pay $5 million to a guy who, just was a subpar while he was a very good place kicker. He was basically unusable. He was literally bottom of the league in kickoffs. last year. And I mean, when you're looking for edges as a winning team, I mean, that just it kills you. I mean, you really have to be able to put the ball in the end zone or be able to master that little pooch kick
Yeah.
to where you guys can cover it. So I get that. You don't want to pay that dude $5 million. I mean, that's
Or now you just kick it as high as humanly possible, and you get the fair catch
fair
now.
catch.
There you go.
Exactly. So I mean, so like you say, if Moody can just be 90% of Robbie as a place kicker, then we're good. And then but then the questions are always going to come still in December, January, and February when, that's when you really make your money as a kicker because I mean, you got making those clutch kicks. I mean, it's a little different in November than it is in January.
Yeah.
So it's levels to it, and just as a rookie, he's gonna have to go through those levels of proving himself, I guess, to himself and to us that he can. We're done it now. It's it's over. We've made the choice.
Yeah.
Now it's just about living, living with it and seeing if they were right, if they made the right call. So I'm rooting for him, but I there's a part of me that still wishes Robbie was here.
Yeah, I think Shelvin and I are gonna miss Robbie just because we would celebrate every
MVP.
possible kick by
Mhm.
him going back many, many years when the Niners were not as that
We're
good.
not
And
very good.
that was like our celebration was like, oh, we got a field goal. There we go.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, all right, so let's move on to the linebacker situation. They have an open spot and they're starting their starting backer position. It is on the strong side. Oren Burks is in bold here with Flanagan Fowles kind of behind him on this ESPN chart that I have, and then other linebackers that they have at the different spots. But what do you see here?
Well, I've heard what is it? McClurry Ball. He is been said to be in the mix, and then also it's that is a position that if you're going to put that extra defensive back out there, that he's the guy that comes off. So excuse me, he's not going to get as many reps as the other two linebackers. Um, so that's again that kind of goes back to the other position is how often do we put that extra DB out there, and how often do we take that how often do we take that extra linebacker off the field?
Do you?
That
It would have been nice to figure out what that percentage was last year when they had three guys that they really, really trusted out there.
right. Yeah, because Alshire was a monster, and he was really, really good anytime he had to play, you know, when Greenlaw was out, or so he was a legit third player. So yeah, that would have been interesting homework to have done, to see what kind of percentage um that third guy is out there. That was another thing that they covered, and we'll talk about a little bit more when we start talking about play callers. But one of the ways that they were talking about how Kyle has stayed ahead of the curve in that, and you're going to see more teams do it because of the way the cat and mouse between defense and offense. And what has happened is you're getting those linebackers out there. You need guys who can cover. So which subsequently means they're usually smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of bully them. So we have been ahead of the curve in our being able to run, even because even when if it's a heavy box with these light ass linebackers, I mean, you can just run right over the top of them. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're able to hold up, which again, our defensive interior should be better with Hargraves and Armstead, but that was a problem for us
Mm-hmm.
with strong interior fronts who could get to the second level and kind of bang us around, um, the our ability to hold up in those lighter fronts with somebody like an Oliver in there is going to be very telling to me. Or do we need to keep somebody like Burks or whoever linebacker X is
Mm-hmm.
in there to be able to be um, solid versus the run, which I know is just based on our defenses. It's very important to the overall structure is our ability to be solid, in the box.
So when we get to preseason games here in less than a month, we'll circle back on all of this stuff because
Did we do this? So we did the 3 preseason game last year,
I think
right?
so. I think so.
Yeah. So I'm just interested to see because you remember in the olden days, the third game was the most important one, and then the fourth game usually was guys that were trying to make the roster.
Yeah, it was like
And
the third one was like the dress rehearsal game.
right, and I can't remember if that's well. I don't remember how it worked last year because, like you had pointed out when going over the schedule, that even if you decided to do that for that third preseason game, it's so long between there and the actual first game that I don't know. I don't necessarily know how much benefit there
Yeah.
is to like playing those guys like a whole like they used to do. I don't, the schedule really doesn't. I mean, because if you're gonna do that and then still be off another 2 weeks, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't even recall the last season was so long ago.
I know. I don't remember how they did it either. But also it's because, man, sometimes, they're I don't know if you've watched many baseball games this year, but it's like the games are so sped up. So you can get through a baseball game now in like 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like preseason NFL games are like 7 hours long.
Oh my
So,
god!
so when the stakes are real,
And then
we're
once the ones are out, I
yeah,
mean, it's a tough watch.
the ball. It seems like the ball drops, like the clock stops constantly when the ones are out. When you
Yeah,
call the backups,
we could do a running clock if you guys want.
yeah, that's 100% do that. All right, yeah. So like I said, we'll circle back. We'll talk about all this stuff as as and I'm sure these depth charts are in pencil, and as the practices happen, and Kyle's got his eye on these scenarios, and the practice could be a part where they go, okay, like this guy might actually be better for this spot, and so those things could even happen sometimes before the games actually start. So that'll be something we can follow as well.